Right behind me is the Denki Studio Gaming PC, and it's been serving us very well for the past year. Built with a 12th gen Intel Core i7, as well as an RTX 4070, it has been wonderful for playing games while testing out peripherals and even products like this 1440p OLED monitor. This computer has the appropriate amount of power for the amount of pixels we have on this display, especially considering that it can top out at 240 Hz. Also, I am a little partial to our Fractal North case, which looks really classy and simple. However, the other day, I got a random package in the mail that was huge. And look what was in it! All of these PC components from MSI. Now, they're not sponsoring this video, but I'm certainly not going to put all of these components to waste. So today, we are going to be building a brand new PC for our setup. And I'm taking you guys along for the ride. So let's jump right in. All right, first up, we're going to open up the PC case. Ooh, this thing is huge. Now, normally when it comes to things like PC cases and especially their peripherals, I'm not the biggest fan of MSI's design, but after looking at some of their products over at CES, I think they're starting to turn a new leaf where they're starting to figure out what good products actually look like, at least from the aesthetic point of view. This is a very cramped frame. My back hurts. Whoa. Wow, how do you get this out the box? Oh, these pull handles on the side always get stuck. Woo! All right, let's see what this thing looks like. Woo! Look at that! Wow! Yo, I love how rounded this glass is. It's super clean. This might sound a bit ignorant, but this case kind of reminds me of the O11D from Lee & Lee, just a bit rounder. Though personally, I kind of prefer cases like this, especially when it comes to showing off your hardware, and this rounded glass piece on the front will absolutely add to the aesthetic. This PC case looks amazing in person. Oh, geez. Okay, not that I should be surprised, but this whole front glass panel just comes off. What? I should not be trusted with this much glass.
2 seconds earlier.
That's absolutely unreal. Whoa. All right, but glass aside, take a look at the bare chassis. Dang, that is sexy. Wow. Without the frame here, it's just open and clean. I'm digging this a lot, almost to the point where I'm wondering if I even want to rock the glass. You see, over here on my Fractal North, I actually don't have the side panel on because with, again, all of the lights in our studio, it glares very badly and it looks awful on camera. So if I take the same principle with our MSI case over here, that might be a play. It certainly won't be the way that MSI intended, but this looks awesome open air. Woo! Now, normally PC builds don't take me multiple days to do, but I have other things planned for the second half of my workday, so I'm going to be back tomorrow. All right, second day of our PC build. Let's jump right in and start by installing our power supply. First, we had to access the back of the case, which was stupid easy to do. The panel just pops off and it gives you access to literally everything you need. Then I unboxed the actual power supply and dang, look at how nice this is. Now, granted, this is a 1300 watt power supply with an 80+ platinum rating. It's way more than we're actually going to need with the hardware we have. I love the brass colored accents. It looks very nice, even though we're not going to actually see the power supply once we close up the back here. But also, considering that it is probably one of the more premium power supplies that MSI offers, it also has braided cables, which is nice to see. My only real gripes with this set are that, unfortunately, the 12-pin GPU power is the only one that's not braided. It is sleeved, thankfully, but it doesn't match any of the other cables that they give you, and it won't look as nice once we get our GPU in here. So next up, let's put the case off to the side and actually work on our motherboard. This is what I was sent to work with, the Z790 Project Zero. This will support anything from 12th to 14th gen Intel CPUs. And we're actually going to take out the i7 out of our Fractal North build in order to run this whole setup. But why I'm particularly excited to build with this thing is because of the design, particularly on the back. Actually, instead of showing you the pretty picture on the box, let me just take this thing out and show you. Taking it out of the anti-static packaging and take a look at the back of this board. It looks a bit different from the standard motherboards that we're used to seeing. That's because most of the major connectors are actually running along the back, which should help us immensely when it comes to cable management. Look at that. Yeah, that is clean. Dang, there's barely anything to plug in the front here apart from just the major components. Woo, PCs have come a long way. Woo. All right, it's time to say goodbye to our Fractal North build. It's time to shut her down and grab the CPU out of this case. We're free. Cooler is off. CPU is over here, and we'll clean it up, take off the thermal paste, and transplant it over into our new board. Do one of these, processor in, tighten this, and we are good. All right, so our CPU is installed on the motherboard, but before we hop this into the case, I'm going to also put in a bunch of other things on it, like our RAM. This is 32 gigs of DDR5 from Corsair. It's the Dominator Platinum. I just love the way that the RGB looks on it. But most importantly, while MSI didn't provide this, this is a pair of RAM sticks that we already had in the office. However, what MSI did provide was an NVMe SSD. This is a 1 terabyte Spatium M480 Pro, and that will go into one of, I believe, 4 M2 slots that are on the board that are hidden behind these metal pieces. Actually, there is one more thing I got to take a look at. So this is our all-in-one cooler, the Core Liquid E360. If I'm being honest, I used to be all about all-in-one coolers and custom loops and the whole deal, but lately I'm all about air cooling and keeping it simple. That's why I had the Noctua over on our North build. This should still provide plenty of cooling for our i7, especially if we want to do some overclocking, which we might actually get to do. Gonna install the back plate. Easy peasy. Install these double-ended screws. PC case back on the desk. Wow. Since this is the first case that I'm working on that has an open corner, when it comes to actually installing stuff in this case and doing some maintenance, I don't have to arm over as much to reach things, which is super convenient. Look how easy this is. Good job, MSI. So I'm going to carefully set our board in the case here, but I should note that also, since a lot of this stuff is rear facing, it's almost crucial that you find a PC case that explicitly allows for those rear facing ports. So do your research, make sure that all of your clearances and whatnot are a-okay before you jump into a build with this brand new layout. Oh, dude, yeah. Bro, I don't even know what I was worried about. That just actually dropped into place perfect. We'll obviously see it on the flip side, but take a look at all of the ports that were on the back of the motherboard. The cutout on the case is perfect. Seriously, MSI deserves some props for designing this case. And I'm not just saying that because they sent it out to me, like legitimately, this might be one of the easiest cases I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And again, I wasn't usually the biggest fan of MSI stuff, but I seriously think they took the time to do this one right. And with that, our motherboard is in the case. Yo, peep the back side of this. Yeah, we have our motherboard power, system fans, USB 3.0 and USB-C, as well as the SATA here on the side. Then probably the hardest to reach will be all of these headers for things like our front panel and audio and whatnot. They're all on the bottom. But that's enough of that. I still have to install my AIO, hook it up to the CPU, put in my graphics card, run power, do some cable management, put all the other fans and whatnot in. There's still a bit of work, and I am approaching the end of my workday, so I'm gonna go put my head down and just do this thing. Shout out, this whole plate comes out so that I can install my radiator super easy. Update, so I'm installing the AIO right now, and this is a bit of a tight turn for our tube, but it doesn't look like it's doing anything that will make it hard to do its job. We will deal with that with future me. Let's go ahead and put on the thermal paste. Don't know if Mr. Yeaster's gonna yell at me, but that should be okay. Maybe a little too much, but not too bad. All right, AIO is in. So I found out after the fact that the orientation of the logo doesn't matter because you actually can just rotate it any way you want. But something that I'm a bit 50-50 on is that placement of the radiator. Obviously, since heat rises, the optimal placement for it is probably up top. Personally, I think the way that this tube is actually allows our fans, which are RGB, to be seen more clearly. I'm going to take that trade-off in stride and not look back, but consider this as my point of no return. The fans on our radiator are finally installed and they look super clean, especially since there are cavities in the case itself to hide those cables around the back so you don't see them anywhere in the front. Next up, I'm going to install the RTX 4070 Ti Super. I'm actually kind of excited about this because we'll probably be testing more 4K monitors later on in the year. So it'll be good to actually have a card that's capable of higher frame rates in that resolution. Pretty helpfully, this case also comes with a GPU riser. So we're gonna be utilizing that because I want to try my best to hide the ugly 12-pin power cable that comes with our PSU. All right, let's place our GPU in. Boom. Yeah, buddy. GPU is on the riser. That looks so clean. I love this. Yeah, this is looking nice. Okay, so let me add the last of the system fans, do some cable management, and I'll be back and show you guys the full build and give you a tour and everything. With a quick sprint to the finish, the PC build is finally assembled. The only thing left to do now is to turn it on and see if it posts. Fingers crossed. I forget which one's which, but I think that is on. Let's hit power. Power. Maybe it's the other one. Yo, we're in business. Okay, but is it gonna post? I should probably turn on the monitor. Oh, there we go. Okay. Ah, yes, rookie mistake. I'm so fucking dumb. It is time to go home. And we're gonna restart it. Oh, that's doing something. The light turned on the bottom. HDMI, yeah, we did it! Hell yeah, I didn't fuck it up. Let's go! Okay, we have our Intel 12th Gen Core i7, 32 gigs of RAM, so it's seeing that. The only thing I wanna make sure of is if it is seeing our storage, which, there it is, the MSI M480 Pro at 1 terabyte. Sweet. The build's as good as it can be right now, so I'm going to close it all up, install Windows, and I'll be back with the full tour. All right, so a few days have gone by. I've spent a bit of time getting all settled into this PC. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with how it turned out in terms of not only performance, but also aesthetic. Our case over here, the 700L, is quite large for our desk, but it has presence, which certainly isn't a bad thing when it comes to showing off the hardware that we just put together. I am a bit back and forth on whether or not I want to keep the front glass on here when we're filming, since the reflections aren't as bad over here as I initially thought. However, I got to say that I love the open look of this case a lot. While it's not exactly what MSI had in mind when they first designed this case, I think it looks pretty cool. Though of course, this case does look quite amazing with the rounded glass, especially in person. Going a bit further, I think the fans, and especially our 4070 Ti Super aren't the most exuberant designs on the market as far as accessories and components go, but I think that simplicity is absolutely made up in the fact that our cable management is super tidy with this build. Of course, that's again thanks to the back connect motherboard as well as our case that has a bunch of routing options built into it. But the result of that is that we only have like 3 visible cables up here on the front, 2 of which are coming out of our AIO and that one pesky GPU power cable. Other than those, this might be the cleanest PC build I've ever done, and I didn't even have to work hard on the cable management to get it that way. I would love to see more mounting points in the rear for things like zip ties or Velcro, especially down here on the spine. And I think some of these cable channels could use rubber grommets on the front to curtain the work that we've done behind the scenes. Thankfully, OEMs like Gigabyte and ASUS are making more back connect motherboards, and case manufacturers are also starting to take notice as well to accommodate the new designs. So here's hoping that this becomes more of a standard in the future, because not only does it make for cleaner builds, but it also makes them easier in a way as well. When it comes to performance, I'm not really a numbers guy when it comes to this kind of stuff, so you're not going to see any benchmarks or any hard comparisons with other hardware. However, generally speaking, this PC is a considerable upgrade over what I was running before, especially in the graphics department. I mean, go figure, I was coming from a 4070 and now moved to a 4070 Ti Super. Not only is that a newer card, but it's also in a totally different price bracket. But especially since I'm going to be taking a look at higher end 1440p and 4K monitors throughout the year, this hardware upgrade is certainly welcome to take full advantage of them. Being able to play games like Cyberpunk 2077 with all of the settings basically jacked up, maybe short of path tracing, and seeing it in all of its glory makes this upgrade super worth it. Knowing what components make up a PC and building one yourself can help you understand how a computer works, but learning the fundamentals behind the software you use on a daily basis goes a long way toward appreciating the marvel that is modern computing. And that is where the sponsor of today's video, Brilliant, comes in. Brilliant is the best way to learn about math, data, and computer science. They have thousands of fun, interactive lessons, including ones on core basics relating to algorithms and programming, all the way up to advanced topics like how AI long language models work. Best of all, I love that Brilliant divides these courses up into lessons that allow me to work at my own pace. If you'd like to try out what Brilliant has to offer, I highly recommend signing up for their free full 30-day trial at brilliant.org/Denki or using the link in the description. Plus, the first 200 viewers to sign up will also get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Huge thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring today's video, as well as to MSI for sending over these PC components for me to put together. And with that, I'll catch y'all in the next one.